Thank you for joining. In this video, I'm going to cover the basics of Google Cloud functions. So what is a cloud function, how to write a function, how to deploy a function, and how to run or trigger a function through HTTP. So in order to demonstrate in this video series, I'm going to implement a Tic Tac Toe game. So this is the architecture, or at least this is a plan currently. So we are going to have two players, the monkey and the cow, and they are playing the same game in their browser. They are communicating to an API, their browsers, in order to make moves and get the current state of the game. And the API is storing all the games in a database. So basically there are three communication channels here between two players and between the API and the database. Everything is hosted in the Google Cloud. And now we are focusing on the API itself, which is implemented as a cloud function. So let's start. A function is nothing else than a simple function or a method. It can be implemented in different languages, including JavaScript, Python, or Java. A function can be triggered by different events. It can be a HTTP request, it can be a database action, it can be a pub/sub event, or it can be something which is happening in a file storage. Writing a function is easy. Basically, you just create one function and bind it to the executing operation itself. Deploying a function is also easy. You can use the UI, or you can use the Google Cloud Console. So let's write a function. Let me navigate to create a function. You select Cloud Functions and click Create Functions. Here you are giving it a name, setting the region, selecting the triggering event type. In our case, this will be HTTP because it will be accessible to the internet. So it's a HTTP API, and it can be public or internal. We are going with public. Create it. And here you can write your function. We are using the JavaScript runtime. So how it looks like. Under the hood, it runs Express. So you have all the Express JavaScript features available. You have two parameters here, the request object and the response object. In the request object, you have all the properties of the request, including the query parameters and the post body content. And you are sending a response to the response object using the send function. So that's how it looks like. Basically, you are doing something like this. Hello, and this is it. It's important to say that if it is a get method, that then you have the query object, which includes all the query parameters as an object. And if it is a post method, then all your post body content on the body object, basically like here. You can also check what is your HTTP method. It is in the request.method string, which can be get or it can be post. Okay, I'm not using the UI because I prefer the console. So let's open the shell now. So how it looks like from here. Basically, I need to have only one JavaScript file, the index.javascript. And I can also have the package.json in which I include all the packages which are needed to run. In my case, I'm using the database, so it's important to include the database package. It looks like this. JSON. So as dependency, I'm adding the Firestore module. Otherwise, it will fail if I want to call anything from Firestore. Okay, so let's open the function itself. So as you see, I'm also exporting one function, which is called by the triggering event. It also has the request and the response object as parameters. I'm doing here, I'm checking the HTTP method type, and I'm doing different things on a GET and different things on a POST. Long story short, if it is a GET method, then I'm returning an actual status of a game or creating a new game. So as you see here, I'm inspecting if there is a game ID included on the query. If not, I'm creating a new game. And if it is a post operation, which is basically a new move in the game, I'm putting or recording the new move in the existing game and sending back something else. Let's see how I'm making the responding. It's very simple, like this. So using the send function on the response object and sending back a string. It's also important to set the header type. By default, I think it's HTML. So you need to change it into a JSON if you are returning a JSON, basically. That's what you need to do. Okay. So now let's deploy it. So I'm cheating now a little bit. I took notes. Let me type now my notes. Okay. So I'm using the gcloud program. This is the console program, so you can do anything you want on Google Cloud using the gcloud program. And I'm using the functions type operation. So let's see what is available here. I can list all my existing functions. I can deploy a function, can get the description, delete it, and a couple of more things. So let's deploy the current function. So what are the parameters here? So I saying it, okay, gcloud, deploy a new function, deploy. First parameter is the name of the function. It will be called game. Then I need to specify the runtime, which is node in our case. Allow unauthenticated means that it will be available publicly. And trigger HTTP is a triggering operation. So let's try, hopefully it will run. Okay, I need to authorize my shell. This is fine. So it looks like it was successful. So let's see what it returned. So it has an entry point, the game exported function, the triggering URL, and some other parameters, the runtime, the service account on which behalf it runs, etc., etc. Okay, let's have a look if it works. Okay, this is great. So if we ping it without a parameter, an ID parameter, it creates a new game. So let's see the state of this game now. Oops, yeah, I forgot that we need to give a name to the query parameter. Okay, wow, okay. It looks like an empty table. So this is a game ID and this is the game itself. And let's check if we can also modify the game. So for this, I call Postman because it's easier to send the post request in Postman. So copy the URL. and sending it a request. So I'm setting the ID. I'm setting the player's name, which is like, let's see, this is the second player, and to which place on the table I want to make a move. Let's say I want to put X, which is a 2 now, on the fourth square on the table. Okay, let's send it. Okay, looks good. It's a successful reply, 200. And let's check the table. Okay, it's changed it. So now on this position, I have a 2. So all good. So instead of playing the game, let's see how it looks like in the UI. So let's refresh the functions UI page. We will see that we have this function now here deployed. If we go here, click here, we can see the statistics, we can see the source, but this is the function which is deployed. And this is it. Let's check a couple of other functions of the gcloud. So we can list all our functions, gcloud functions list. So now it's included here. The name, status, triggering event, and the region. And we also can delete a function. So let's say if we don't want this function anymore, then we say gcloud function delete and the name, game. Yes, I want to delete it. It will take some time. Okay, and it's deleted. So let's refresh the UI, and voila, we have more functions. So let's sum it up. So we created a function, which is nothing else than an imported if using the JavaScript runtime. We have seen how to write a function. It's pretty easy. It is using the Express JavaScript framework under the hood. So all the Express features are available if you're using HTTP. We see how to deploy a function using the UI or the gcloud. And we also demonstrated how to trigger a function with an HTTP call, which can be get event, a post event. It also can any other HTTP event which you want. Thank you very much for joining, and see you next time when I'm going to cover the security options. See you soon.